You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. Bordy, it's a special episode because all things are off on the table. The NDA is dropped, and for the first time in 77 episodes, we'll be able to talk about everything New World. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this episode. We've been waiting a long time for this one. But before we get into it, guys, you guys should go check out New World Fans. New World Fans is our website, obviously, me, Bordy, and Taken. And we have been doing a ton of work over there. I know Taken has been working in the back end nonstop for you guys. And we've had such a well-received community welcome this, since the beta started. And we just want to thank you guys for that. For your continued support over there on the website. And just if you haven't checked it out already, you should. There's a lot of New World content there for you guys to consume because, the beta is only going to last until August 2nd. And then you'll want things to look up and you want to theory crap builds and all that for launch. And that website over there will have everything you need. So go check that out. And then also, guys, for our podcasting audience, because, you're also... you continue to grow. You don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating in Apple and any of the podcasting platforms. It really does help us with searchability. This week, we were able to become the top searched podcast in the New World phrase, which was hard for us to do because forever, New World ended up being some random, news podcast. But now it's us. So it's because of you guys and your continued support. So thank you for that. And if you'd be so kind to leave us a 5-star rating, we'd really, really appreciate it. So, Bordy,
yeah, absolutely.
Here we go, dude. First, before we get into it, let's talk about Battle for New World. We've seen it in action now. It is basically the way that Amazon or let's see, the New World Studio has chosen to present or promote New World as a game in beta, and I am happy to say that has been extremely successful, Bordy. So first off, let's give your thoughts on the event and how it's going so far.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this just a little bit in the last episode or at some point we've talked about it before, but I think that so far it's gone about as good as anybody could hope in terms of marketing for the game. It's been incredible, man. The streamers have been on board. The event, I think, has been a lot of fun. It seems like the streamers that are involved in that event are really, really vested in trying to win the event, which is really cool. It's fun to see all the trash talk on Twitter. I think so far the event has been fantastic, man. And then they had some Twitch integration with the extension that those guys had. And that was a pretty cool, fun little mini game that the viewers of those streams could watch and participate in. And then the drops that they've been given with the golden armor skin. I think so far the launch of the beta has been fantastic. And I hope they do something similar and maybe step it up a notch for launch in August. But so far, man, I couldn't be happier with the way they've handled that. It's been excellent, dude.
If they can step it up a notch from this, I'd be pretty impressed. Dude, it's been literally we had talked about this for a long time because of, Amazon's relationship with Twitch and everything. We thought New World has a real opportunity to succeed in this category with, advertisement and marketing. And if you have been or followed video games in the past 5 years, the power of Twitch and how literally it can make $1 million games, with the amount of coverage that it receives from different streamers. And dude, it's been crazy. It's been cool to watch the competing factions, obviously, and, just the overall support for the game. I think from what I've seen, they hit 200,000 concurrent players at one point.
I was about to bring that up. Yeah, that's insane for a beta, bro. That's crazy.
It's unreal. And even Tim the Tapman had said, he never plays betas like this. And dude, he's grinding hard. I've been enjoying his streams. I'm a big fan of his in general, but watching him and have 50 people with VoIP on following him around, calling him Tim the Taxman, is pretty funny, man. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, those streams have been quite hilarious for sure. He's not even involved in the Battle for New World thing.
Right,
His streams have
exactly.
been, yeah, but they've been so fun to watch, man. I've definitely enjoyed watching him play, and then watching all of the other streamers for Battle for New World has been a very, very much an enjoyable experience, man. It's so I think the beta, dude, in terms of marketing and advertising and hype around the game, I don't know what more you could ask for, and I think. What about performance, Red? Let's talk about that for a second, because that's a big deal too, I think. And I think that on the performance side of things, for me anyway, I haven't had many issues. I've had a few people pop in and out of streams saying that they've had a few little issues here and there, but for the most part, I think everyone has had a very smooth experience, with the exception of the 3090s blowing up, which I'm not real sure that's New World's fault or a default in the manufacturer. I don't know I don't know enough about it to really speak on that intelligently. So I kind of stay away from that topic. I know it's been an issue. Whatever the issue, I hope that either the manufacturer gets it fixed or New World fix it before launch. But New World did release a statement saying that they didn't think it was on their end. So other than that, though, which I guess is a pretty big deal, I think the performance wise has been really, really good too. There has been some server issues with the servers going down, and there's been queues, but the queues are a good thing because that means a lot of people are playing. The servers being down is to be expected during a beta, and they'll get that worked out for launch. But man, I haven't had any problems really getting on and playing other than the server downtime. I think overall it's been pretty smooth, man. It's been actually pretty impressive, I'd say.
Yeah, impressive for a beta without a doubt. I think like obviously some servers have some issues. Maybe the ones that are more streamer heavy have had more issues because of the sheer amount of people in a consolidated area. But yeah, overall, I think, obviously this is what a beta is for, is to work out the kinks. It seems like most of the kinks are involved with some minor bugs or potential server issues. But, that's it's good to see that these issues have came up to the surface so that they can fix them for launch. But yeah, I really, on our server, we're on Thule, NA East, and we haven't had a ton of issues. We obviously the downtime on a daily basis, but pretty minor, I would say, like 3 hours or whatever, just to kind of get things worked out, which is what you would expect in a testing phase of a game. But yeah, dude, it's been great, man. I've watched Danny, our buddy Danny from a guest on the podcast and obviously New World Wednesdays. Dude, I watched him do like open world like 100 v 100 or something stupid. It was like insane how many people were. Maybe it was 50 v 50, but it was in the open world. And dude, the servers didn't miss many ticks there, man. It was pretty impressive to see him at work. And it was a lot of fun to watch, and that's pretty impressive, man. To get 100 people in a game as beautiful as New World in a consolidated area like that and not have many problems, like especially like not dropping underneath like a 40-50 frame rate, is pretty crazy, man. So yeah, overall, I think this beta has been a pretty decent success for them.
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. It was a lot of fun. I did catch some of that fight too that I think you're referencing, and it was a lot of fun to watch for sure. And that is pretty impressive to have that many people in the same zone. Like you said, it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it is. And again, I really, we've been covering this game for over a year now, and I really couldn't have thought up or envisioned a better experience than they put forth, and the sheer amount of interest in players that the Battle for New World, campaign and just the beta in general has brought is extremely encouraging, man.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, let's get to our main topic here, and this is kind of, I thought this would be cool to do on an episode, Bordy, so we're just going to basically do our review of New World so far up until this point, and obviously this is for the beta, but, I think we've been kind of anxious to be able to talk about all the facets of the game openly for quite some time, so I figured this would be a great time to do that. So, Bordy, why don't we start with the visual and the setting, or the setting of Aeternum, like the aesthetics of the game. And I'll let you go first. How do you rate? We don't have to put numbers on it if you don't want to, but just like overall, what is your take on the visual the visuals of New World?
Well, I don't think it's any secret from people that have listened to our show for a long time about how much I like the visuals of New World and the sound effects and everything that comes along with it. Just the environment in general, I think, is spot on. I love the environment in New World. It's one of the things that makes it a little bit unique from other MMOs out there because the environment is so good, and so are the sound effects and just the visual. Everything about it, I think, is good, except for there are some kind of clunky animations. I will agree with some of the skeptics there. There are some clunky animations whenever you're running and some other animations that don't look quite right sometimes, but those are easily overlooked in my opinion whenever you just take it as a whole. And I think overall, just the environment, the visuals, bar none, some of the best I've seen in an MMO. I love just the aesthetics of New World. It's dope, man.
Yeah, I've had a chance to do some record some footage for our YouTube videos and everything like that. And dude, the world of Aeternum is beautiful. It really is a work of art, and kudos to the visual team and the graphics team. The game runs pretty well for being as stunning or as visually stunning as it is right now. And dude, the setting of Aeternum and the setting it in the colonial period and obviously the choice of weapons that you get. I think the New World team has kind of mentioned that several times, the reason that they put it here, in this setting. And dude, the idea that, we potentially have an MMO that has a Diablo or Dark Souls vibe to it as far as setting and overall aesthetics really, really excites me. And I really hope that in the future, dude, they continue to lean into that, man. I really want to see some dark, twisted things coming from New World and Aeternum because I think it's there, man. The corrupted are already kind of like that, with their bandaged, decaying faces and everything like that. So I really hope they lean into that. The visuals and the aesthetics of New World are really, second to none at this rate. I think. I think they're pretty spot on as far as what you would expect from a high end MMO.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's fun to see all the people that are experiencing it kind of for the first time, echoing those sentiments. It's something we've been saying for a very long time on this show. And it's fun to see that the masses kind of agree. It looks really good. Yes.
All right. So the next category, and this is my favorite one to talk about, I think, out of all of them, is sounds. And then we'll throw into this category voice acting because they've recently added that to all the quests. So, dude, the sounds of Aeternum, Bordy, take it away with your overall thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I mentioned that just a little bit ago, very briefly, but dude, the sounds are on a whole different level from any MMO that's out there right now. And I think that it's really, really fun to see people just blown away by these because it's something that we've known for a long time, but we haven't really been able to go too in depth about because everything's been under NDA. But during our time in the alpha, we talked about that constantly, man. And it's still something that gets brought up in our Discord all the time and just between conversations that we have. The sounds are... I don't know how they recorded these or what. They're so good, man. Whenever you go out and you're mining some ore and you just get that incredibly loud pop and the echo, and then you have different sound effects with your helmet on. There's different sound effects when you go into a cave. It's very echoey. It's kind of muffled. And there's every sound effect in the game, man, is really, really, it's just next level. It's amazing, man. It's so good, dude. I could just rave about that. That's one of my, and I think I'm with you there too. It's one of my favorite things really about the game. It's really, really good, and you can just really get immersed in Aeternum. It's cool, man.
Yeah, dude, I always go back to this, but the sound it makes when you hear trees falling down outside of the settlement, when you're
the
in
creaking
there.
Sound,
and if you're in running through an area with ore or mining, hearing that pickaxe hit, that it just, dude, it's so, involving. It makes you feel part of the world and in the world. And I'm with you, dude. However they recorded these and however they implemented them within the game, it's top tier, 10 out of 10 as far as sound goes in an MMO or maybe any video game that I've ever played, honestly, because it's really, really good. And that can't be overstated, I don't think.
Yeah, they are good.
So yeah, and obviously I've appreciated a lot the voice acting in the game. Someone pointed out in one of the streams I was watching that one of the faction leaders for the Marauder was the same voice actor as Torbjorn in Overwatch. So obviously they've went to professional voice acting with a lot of these voiceovers, and dude, it adds a lot of immersion to the quest line and the story for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad they went that direction. We talked about that a lot in the past too, that they didn't have all of them all the quests voiced over or whatever. And in 2021, I think you kind of need that now for a new MMO, for a AAA MMO coming out. And I'm glad that they went that route. I think they might have a little bit of work to do still in that area, but the voices are good. I'm glad they went in that direction. I think there are other MMOs out there that do it slightly better right now, ESO being one of them. I think ESO, dude, but that's their niche though, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what their whole game basically revolves around, is kind of lore and whatever. They have that really hardcore fan base for that. I think New World is going to be what's going to draw people into New World. I don't think necessarily is going to be the voice acting for the quest. It's going to be the environment, the combat, all of those other things that we're going to talk about as well here in a minute. But overall, I think it's good. It's solid. I mean, I like the voice acting. I'm glad they did that. It's much better than reading it. It does kind of help immerse you into the game a little bit. And overall, I think it's solid, man. It's not bad.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So speaking of combat, dude, let's hop right in here. Let's talk about the combat in New World. To me, in my opinion, it's never been done before, this level of action. As far as, obviously BDO is probably one of the competitors as far as like uniqueness of combat in an MMO. I think a lot of, or most of the majority of MMOs are a tab targeted rotation, heavy rotation based combat that requires you to, do your spells within a certain window, within a certain rotation to maximize efficiency and damage. But New World, and here's one of the strengths of the combat, I think. It's really one of the first games I think I've ever really like focused around like light attacks and heavy attacks. Your basic attacks are a large part of the combat in New World, which is impressive for them to pull off. So what do you think about the combat in New World?
I love it, man. And I know I'm just sitting here singing the praises of New World. I've only had some very small critiques so far, but I think it's warranted, man. The combat, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, man, because I love this style of combat. I like action-based combat so much more than just face rolling my hands over the keyboard and running through rotations to try to get maximum DPS or whatever. I love the skill-based combat. I love the dodging. I love the blocking. I love everything about it, man. Is really, really fun, in my opinion. I have had some people come into chat saying, oh, they felt like combat was sluggish. They felt like it wasn't that great. But they're coming from MMOs like World of Warcraft or like Guild Wars, these MMOs that do have like these heavy rotation based combat systems or tab target systems. And that's not what New World is. And it does take a little while to get used to it, because I can see how it would feel a little bit sluggish, a little bit slower paced, but it is so good once you get the hang of it and you learn the combat. It is bar none the best combat I've ever played in an MMO, hands down. But again, I prefer action style combat well over the rotations and whatever like most MMOs have, man. I like it. I've also seen criticisms about them only having 3 abilities per weapon or whatever. And I really hope they don't end up at changing that to add even a 4th ability. I think 3 is the perfect number, because you want to utilize your heavy attacks. You want to utilize your blocking, your light attacks, and weave those in, and your dodging and all that. Once you start adding a whole bunch of abilities, then it becomes like every other MMO. You're just rolling through your abilities, rolling through your rotation. You're not utilizing everything at your disposal that a true action combat should have. So I think they're in the sweet spot right now, man. 2 weapons. I think they've done a really good job addressing all of the staggers and all the issues they had from the preview event. The combat feels really good now. It feels like most of the weapons are fairly balanced at the moment. There are some really S-tier weapons out there, but that's always going to be the case. But I think overall, dude, I have enjoyed the heck out of it during the beta, man. It's been fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously it is preference based. Obviously, not everybody's going to agree on the style of combat. I do like the 3 ability 2 weapon system, just because it does force you to really think about light and heavy attacks, how you're going to spread out your cooldowns to make it, the most efficient way to PvE or PvP, and it makes you think about using those cooldowns, because really the cooldown timers are pretty lengthy on most of the abilities, so you really do have to again, weave light and heavy attacks, blocking, dodging, and I think it's intentional that way because it really does feel like a lot of people come into chat and say it does remind them of like a Witcher or something like that. That sort of combat style that allows you, for punishable, open windows of attack and windows where you really do need to be defensive to be efficient. Otherwise, you're going to get stunned or staggered or whatever. So, overall, I think that, again, the combat can obviously always improve. But right now, as far as the beta goes, I think it's in a very, very good place, Bordy. It's on a high level for sure.
Yeah, so can we talk about some of our combat experiences we've had during the beta, Red?
Yeah, sure, Bordy, take it away, brother. Go ahead, dude.
Like I want to just talk about real quick some of the experiences we've had that have been just so incredibly fun. Red, you and I were playing together, grouped up with some of our other company members. Was it last night, the night before? I don't remember, but we went over to First Light. We took that fort and we hung around there for a little while, and then we just kind of lingered around until it started drawing attention, and gradually it started drawing a ton of attention, and it got a little bit overwhelming because we only had 5 people there. But dude, the tactics I think we ended up getting combat, 6
at one point. But yeah, I think
we were heavily outnumbered there for a while. We held our own for a very long time until they started sending basically their entire faction down there. But what was awesome, man, is the tactics we used for combat a few times out there in the jungle, out there by that fort in First Light. We went completely prone, man, and we ambushed them and were able to take them out. We had them spread out. They were spread out looking for us. They didn't know where we were. We went prone. We were able to pick them off almost one by one and kind of took down a lot of people when we were outnumbered. It was so dope, dude. Those types of tactics in the game are next level, in my opinion. Like, what other MMO? I'm sure there's something out there that you can do something similar, but it was so cool to see. We were all just laid out, all prone, all 6 of us, 5 of us, however many there were, and then we popped up and just ambushed them. It was so fun, man. That was some incredible moments in the open world, in New World. And those are the types of things that just have happened over and over and over again during the beta since we've been playing, and it's been incredible, man. It's so fun.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they're extremely spread out. I think you have that opportunity to every time you go out flagged in New World to experience something of that nature, where you can get into a good scuffle with a 5v5 or a 2v2 or a 1v1, or even, like I was saying before, like a 50v50 in the open world. Whether it's over a fort or happen to run into each other doing PvP quests. It's really again, something that now with the sheer amount of players that each server has, the flagging system seems to be in an okay place. Like people are flagging for it, and you almost always run into some sort of combat out there in the open world. So really, that is, I'm glad you brought that up, because it was a blast, man. It's something I'll remember forever. That encounter, that experience in the game.
It was so much fun.
So, Bordy, here's the next topic that we have here listed is the systems in New World, and more specifically, the crafting and gathering systems. So, Bordy, this is something that I think is at the heart of New World. It started as a survival game. Obviously, we know that crafting is a major part of crafting and gathering. Both are a major part of those games. And so, as they transition to a theme park MMO, I think a lot of people feared that they would lose that soul that it had of a survival, type of game. But I know neither one of us have probably spent a ton of time gathering and crafting during the beta. We've been pretty busy taking care of other things, but we have, in the past had a chance to experience these systems. What do you think overall about gathering and crafting in New World?
I feel like they're in a really good spot, man. I feel like they're both in a really good spot. I think that gathering in New World is an incredibly fun activity, and it's weird to say that because usually gathering in games get very mundane, very boring. But because of the things we talked about before, like the great sound effects they have, and it's just so satisfying to go like chop down a tree or mine an ore node or whatever. It's a lot of fun to go do those things. And they've implemented a lot of different types of drops and so many resources you can go gather while you're out there exploring the open world. It's just a really fun kind of activity to do, to gather. And then it's very rewarding when you take that back and craft. The crafting system, I feel like, is in a pretty good spot too. It's pretty pretty in depth. There's lots to do. There's kind of a lot to it. I think it's going to satisfy or scratch that itch for the people who just want to craft in the MMO. And there's a lot of those people out there. We have a bunch of them in our company, which is great. But I think it's spot on, man. I don't know. There's probably a few little things here and there. I haven't done a ton of crafting, so I'm sure there's some things here and there that people aren't enjoying or whatever. But I think overall the system is really, really good. Again, I'm praising it, but I like it. Like, I'm not going to say it's terrible when I like it. I think it's really good. Now, one of the things they do need to fix, man, and this is kind of along the same lines as, I guess, crafting and gathering, but it's the redundancy of going out and doing the same things over and over and over and over again with your faction missions and your town board projects. It kind of gets a little bit redundant. As fun as going out and crafting is and gathering is, those town projects do get a little bit redundant. They do get boring, and we've seen that getting exploited too with some of the very big streamers and them leveling up and whatever. I think they've kind of addressed that. Not sure what they're going to do in that area yet. I think they've addressed it, but the other things
you do in that circumstance, it's going to be hard to balance the game, or like you've mentioned this in the past. It's going to be hard to balance the game around maybe that's 20 people. You just can't do that.
It's 0.0001% of the player base. Who else is going to just be able to stand at the town board and have literally hundreds of people give them resources to level them up quickly? Not very many people in the game are going to have that happen to them. So although it sucks because they're highly exposed and they're getting 50,000 views on Twitch, 50,000 concurrent views on Twitch, is like, how can you? I don't know how you completely stop that, but other than the redundancy and those things, that's probably my biggest critique still about the game right now. Is that even? And I know we're not going down the critique path, but I guess I kind of wandered down there on this topic a little bit. But
yeah, sure.
But the faction missions is still very redundant, man. We picked those up a bunch and they were kind of the same things over and over and over. So I think in order to satisfy the people that like to PvE and do the questing and those types of things, I think the PvE faction missions are okay, because the reason you run those isn't for the quest itself. The reason you run those is to undermine the territory and go out and get in PvP. The PvE faction missions, they're going to have a little bit more diversity there, I think, along with the town project missions. I don't know what they'll do or how you can diversify them, but hopefully something, because they do definitely get a little bit redundant after you do them over and over and over. It's probably my biggest critique, I think, at this point.
Yeah, one of the challenging things, and I do like that they make an effort at it, is to allow those people that like to gather and craft a way to gain experience and riches. And obviously that you have the trading posts and everything that they can kind of play, which I know, just from our experience with our company, a ton of people are doing. They're loving that. They're loving the opportunity to kind of, hit the market hot with, certain items and go farming those rare sought after things. But, I think two of the things that they need to maintain attention on, or just continue to adjust and tweak, are, like you said, some of the PvE factions or the board mission factions, just making sure that those are according to, their effort as far as, how to complete them and the rewards for those. And I think, and not a ton of people are at in-game right now, but I think it's a very important thing for them to continue to maintain or adjust in the future, is making sure that crafting is one of the most viable ways to get high-end in-game armor and weapons and consumables and all that stuff at in-game, because I think at New World's core, they mean to do that. They mean to have crafting as a very viable thing at in-game as far as getting the best gear in the game. And so that will continue to need continued attention as they put out more content as well. But I think at its base level, gathering, obviously we've mentioned the sounds of gathering. I think it feels pretty good. You go out into different zones, have different types of resources available that you have to go to a particular zone to get. I think that's a really cool. It kind of makes all the other zones viable, even at in-game, because you do have to go down there for particular items to get them, to craft them or sell them on the marketplace or what have you. But yeah, overall, I think this is one of the systems that I probably have the least amount of experience with. But I do think overall it's in a pretty decent place. Maybe not on the level of combat and the sound of New World, but I do think that they put a lot of effort into designing both of those systems. So.
Yeah, I think they're top notch. I think they can rival any other MMO on the market right now in terms of crafting systems, in my opinion. I think they're really good.
Yeah. All right. So here's the next one, and there's some probably a little bit more critique to be had in this particular category, and that is activities. So activities in the game. We'll cover in game. It's actually our next topic, so we'll try not to touch on that too much. But as far as like leveling goes, how do you feel like the level of activities, or most people would probably say rides, because it is edging on the verge of a theme park MMO. How do you feel about the activities or the variety of rides in New World and its current state?
That's a tough question, because that is probably one of the other critiques, I guess, is that, you have all these, there's a lot to do right now. There's a lot to do in the game. And I think that people are really enjoying it. And there's enough to keep me busy for sure. I just worry about, maybe a little bit down the road, how much we need kind of early game. But like Amrine, I think is in a fine spot. It's a level 25 expedition. I think that's a fine time to start expeditions. You can really run that whenever you're level 20 if you wanted to with a group. But the PvP, on the PvP side of things, you can't really do those activities like Outpost Rush, for example, until you're level 60. You can participate in a siege, which is fine, but those are timed and you may not always be able to participate in one. The open world PvP, there's a lot of that going on for sure. It's a lot of fun. You have the fort fights, but like the actual like kind of rides you're going for the theme park, all you have is Outpost Rush sitting out there for PvP. So maybe at some point they'll add some sort of way to jump into some lower level BGs or something. That would be really cool. But as far as that goes, I think it's okay. Other than, like we mentioned before, the quests and the variety of them. And then another really weird thing, I think, is the way that the main storyline progresses, right? Like this has been kind of a qualm of mine for a long time. And I don't know if this is going to change, but you go all the way down to the Hermit, and then you literally just go all over the map doing this quest. There's really no progression. There's no like linear progression feel to it. You really honestly feel like you go turn it in, and then you have to run forever to go do the next part of the quest. And then you come back, and it's kind of cool because it does send you to places in Aeternum that maybe you haven't been, or maybe you wouldn't go. But I wish it was almost just a little bit more like a little bit more sequenced and made a little bit more sense as to when you went where. It's a little odd that you kind of just, I don't know, it feels a little bit too scattered to me. Yeah. But other than that, I think the activities are okay. Like I said, I haven't had any lack of interest of things to do. There's plenty to do. You can start crafting and gathering right out of the gate. That'll keep you busy for a long time. You can, flag up for PvP very early on, and that'll keep you busy for a while. There's lots of quests you can do. Going and taking over a territory, which is something we were able to do during the beta red. The Revenant took over Cutlass Keys, which has been awesome. And we've had our entire company down there just working on those town projects and those activities and holding that area, which is a really cool thing to do. That's been a ton of fun to try to work together on that. And I haven't been around as much as I would like to doing those things with the company, but we've been kind of sidetracked doing other things. But it's really, really cool to walk into Cutlass Keys and just see tons of Revenant members down there. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, that's the draw to New World, right? Is territory control. You go down there, you feel ownership in that place. And I see you with the roll right there with the Revenant banner up, dude. For those listeners, our Revenant banner is rolling in the background on YouTube. Yeah. It looks great. But yeah, those are, I think overall, I think for launch, whenever we launch it in August 31st, or whenever they launch it in August 31st, we're able to play it again. I think that it'll be okay with the activities they have in place now. I think it's fine for a launch product at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's one of the important factors I think to consider right now is the game. It'll be 1 day old as soon as it launches, and that's how much content it will have is 1 day's worth of content. And we do get caught up oftentimes as MMO fans, especially because we're so eager for the next big thing to kind of take our time away and make us know life and neckbeard a particular video game. Dude, this game is brand new. It would be pretty impressive for a MMO to release with 15 years of content on day one. Like, it's just not gonna happen. But one of the things I will say, and this is to your point, is I do think that there are some minor adjustments that they can do with the current content that they have to make lower levels feel better. There are some big gaps in the main story quest line. You're kind of like, what do I do? The first one's like really at the very beginning of the game. You have to get to level 12 before you can progress the main storyline. And it's like, well, I guess I do faction missions or whatever, and that's fine. But again, you kind of start the game right off on the jump of these repetitive quests. that maybe, obviously they're viable and they can get you faction tokens and obviously get you that first set of gear in the game from your faction vendor. But, it is something to look into. Maybe like making Outpost Rush like available at level 10 or something. And then you just have like lower level versions of Outpost Rush, kind of like ESO does with their arena system. They basically have like a below 50 category. And then maybe there's some sort of like, a way to kind of, balance people more effectively. Obviously, the more abilities you have and the more passives you have unlocked, it's going to be hard to balance that. But it'll give some people something to do that enjoy PvP. Maybe another viable way to level in that aspect. Open world PvP, you do get some experience from. Me and you had, we gained quite a bit of experience that Friday night when we did all that PvP because, it was very active. We just kept killing people and getting killed. Fun. And it was a ton of fun. But, I think that, they can definitely do some things that are pretty easy. I think I say easy. I'm not a developer. Taken's probably going to smite me later. But the thing is like, you know what I mean? Like there are some things in game that they could adjust a little bit to add more flavor or variety to leveling. But overall, I think it's pretty good. They tried to make it quicker. They added that fast travel point by the hermit, the guy that, kind of feeds you the main quest line. But you got to like exploit to make that viable. Like I would always like finish my quest and then kill myself in some manner. Right now they have it available in the menu. Like you just click respawn and then you respawn in Everfall and then quick travel down there. But the thing is, I would hope that's not going to be available at launch, right? Like you don't want a respawn button in a live game. I think that's historically been a problem for New World because people were doing that with PvE quests all the time. Like you just like finish your PvE faction quest, kill yourself, spawn back, turn a hand them in, and then you kill yourself again. Then you spawn at your camp. That's by all the PvP repeatable quests. Do those, kill yourself, spawn back at town. Like that's not you don't want that gameplay loop to be like your most efficient way to level in the game. I would hope that they're going to look at that a little bit, but overall for like a launch game, I think the level of content, as far as my experience goes, for the leveling process is pretty decent, I think. And obviously, I think as they add content to the game, that'll get better and better.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is important for us to remember that it is a launched product for an MMO, and it takes a long, long time for these systems to get refined and for them to add a whole bunch of content to be on the level of like an ESO or a WoW or something like that. Those games have been out for so long, man, and they've been refined over years. Final Fantasy 14, all these big MMOs. And I think that on launch, New World is going to be in a pretty good place with the amount of content they have and the way that things are scaling and whatever. I think it's pretty good. And I bet they change a lot of stuff from beta until launch in terms of pacing of leveling and all of those things. I bet that gets looked at heavily between now and then, and I bet a lot of that stuff gets changed.
Yeah, for sure. And there's two approaches. Final Fantasy 14 still has the same relative leveling system. You want to play the main story quest line. So you basically go back and when you start a new character, you do, at least when you're new to the game, you do all the old quests. You just do the entire storyline because they don't want to change the storyline. And then there's other games like WoW that have reworked their new player experience like 30 times already. They put you on an island that's isolated, that's not even really, it's like, new with that particular faction. You don't ever go back and touch that old content. So, and New World's got a different type of problem because they need to keep all of these early game zones viable. Because why are other people or why are other factions going to really want to control them if there is no reason to be there?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so the last topic that we have on this episode, and I think it's a good one because it is a topic that we're going to be talking a lot about come launch time, is end game. Now, this is such an important aspect of any MMO because a lot of players feel like that's when the real game starts. Obviously, you want to have a good leveling experience, reasons to grind, reasons to improve or advance your character's progression. But once you get to the end game and you want to talk about like concurrent players and people that log into your game every day, you really do need a very good end game. So, we have not hit this in beta, obviously. I don't think there's very many people outside of like Josh OG and some of those streamers that have been grinding those storyboard quests I have got there. But overall, what are your thoughts on in-game and particularly, what New World could do to in the next month or two after launch to kind of add to the game to make that a more fulfilling experience?
Yeah, so I think they'll have to add some stuff pretty quickly after launch, because I do think a lot of people on launch are just going to absolutely no life the game and get there. I think the vast majority of people, it's going to take them a while to get there, but I do think there's going to be a select group of people that do. And that's always the hard part, right? That's always the balancing act of an MMO, is how to appease everyone, how to appease the people, the really hardcore people that are out there just playing all the time and just have the time to invest, 20 hours a day or whatever into playing New World. And then the other people out here, kind of your more casual players or your semi-hardcore players, are only able to play 3 or 4 hours a day, but they play every day type of thing. It's really, really hard to appease all those crowds. But I think you have to go for whatever is going to please the majority. And I feel like they have enough in-game content in the game right now that's going to fulfill that. That's going to fill that gap. I do think that they'll have to add some new in-game content as time goes on, because right now you have sieges that'll keep people busy for a good while, though, because that is the game at its core. You have 2 in-game expeditions right now, which is pretty good, I think, for a launch product. I think that's okay, and I think we'll be able to expect more of those fairly quickly after launch, would be my guess, right? And then you have Outpost Rush, which is going to be a replayable PvP event that you're going to be able to do all the time at level 60. So I think that's fine. Then you have Invasions, which are another in-game event. So there are a lot of in-game things to do, but as you do all of those things for so long, it is going to get boring. So as long as they can keep a cadence of pumping out more content, just like any MMO should, whatever their cadence is to satisfy their player base, they'll be fine. I think on launch, they have plenty to satisfy people on in-game at launch. There may be people like Josh OG who levels up incredible, like in a week, he's level 60 and then he's running through all the in-game content, and then maybe he gets bored of the game or whatever. But the vast majority of players are not going to do that. The vast majority of players probably won't even hit level 60 before they release new content, because they said they want to have a pretty fast cadence after launch for releasing new content. So I think on launch, it'll be good, man. I think they have plenty of in-game content for launch.
Yeah, so it's interesting, Bordy, that, like you said, that, and we've kind of talked about this a lot in certain aspects of the game, but it's hard to balance the game around people that can literally, spend 18 hours a day playing the game.
Yeah, but do you want to, though? That's
what I mean.
Like,
it's hard to center all of your systems in place for that sort of player, because then your casual players, which is probably like generally at least 90% of your player base, never reach the level of the game that you're kind of always hyping up, which is the end game.
Then they get frustrated.
Your premier activities, and then they just get frustrated. Black Desert's an interesting game in that aspect, because you really never hit max level. And I know some people do not like that about that game, is the fact that they never feel like they can quit, or they always feel like they have to be grinding, and there is a lot to be said about like that feeling in an MMO once you hit max level. Getting there and that, feeling like, okay, now I can really start to refine my build of my character, or now I can really start getting, making a lot of money and crafting and gathering, because I have, I can have access to the highest level of a particular resource or crafting recipes in the game. The end game is very, very important, just in general. And they do have these, like you said, the sieges. That is a system that kind of fulfills that norm for, I think, most MMO cycles, which is the raid and log cycle. That phase in the game where most people like that. You have that in-game experience that you log in to do with your guild or company, and then you log off. Like eventually, most MMOs get to that point. Because you've done everything you need to do or what have you, and then you just have this cycle where now I'm going to log into New World like once or twice a week to defend my territory, make sure everything's good, and then wait for the new content to come. I think most MMOs fall into that, and they do have systems like sieging, like invasions, like that will at least keep some of those people, those hardcore people that do get to end game and kind of run out of things to do, a reason to keep logging back in until new content comes. But for the most part, I think, for now, I think for the most of the people that play New World, there's going to be enough things to do before that next new content drops, which I really do believe, after, listening to the developer team and watching them put out content in a certain cadence throughout the alpha period. I think that it's going to be in the next 2 to 3 months after launch. So that, like you said, I think a lot of people will, not a lot of people, but some people will struggle to get max level before then. And then most people will have been max level for maybe a month or so, but getting in the rhythm of maybe leveling all their gathering or crafting or potentially leveling every weapon that's in the game, or, there'll be other things for them to do at that phase. So I do think in-game is something that obviously can always be worked upon, but as far as like a launch product, I think it's in a decent place again right now. But one of the things I will say, Bordy, and this is from my background, I guess, of an MMO player. I mean, you are a little bit different in this aspect because, you have played a ton of survival games and everything. I played a lot of like in-game raiding experiences or, that sort of thing. And I really do hope and think that they potentially need to get some sort of premier PvE raiding experience or raid-like experience in the game within the first 3 to 6 months after launch. They really need to have an in-game zone with some sort of 8-man or 12-man group experience for raiding with, very challenging content and rewarding content. I really hope that they can get something like that added to the game, because I do, as a theme park MMO, Bordy, I do think that they need that experience eventually within New World.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of huge 40-man raids, as I'm sure you guys know if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time. I hate them, actually. But an 8 to 10-man raid, I do think is something that they are going to need. For sure, I hope they don't go the 40, 50-man raid route. I hope not. I don't enjoy that type of content. But I do agree, man. I do agree that because it now is kind of more of a theme park MMO, and they've done a pretty good job on these expeditions so far, making them really good. And there's a couple of the expeditions that are really, really fun. Some of them are decent, some of them are better than the others, but there's a couple that's really, really good. And I think if they keep iterating upon that and then add a raid or something like that, that'll definitely help, and it'll suffice for those really hardcore PvE players that I think they're trying to draw into the game right now too. And then maybe they'll have a pretty good mix between PvP, PvE. That's something they've tried to do since the get-go. And I think if they add that, they'll be in a good spot. But I agree, man. I think that's something that will be needed for sure. Yeah.
And I secretly want some sort of small group arena system, like a 2v2 or 3v3 or maybe even like a 3v3v3 or a 4v4v4. Sort of PvP experience. And that's kind of out of greed mostly, because I do tend to, that's where I sink a lot of my time in, and the MMOs that I play a lot at in-game is just repeating that, logging in, playing a couple hours of arena, and then being able to log out without a ton of time commitment. I do like that system. And I hope they can eventually add something like that as well. But overall, I think, with Outpost Rush and Siege and open world PvP, I think they have a ton of content for PvP players already. Yeah. I agree, though. I'm a big fan of small scale, too. So hopefully one day we'll get it. But maybe right now is not the time, because that might take away from some of the other PvE content. Who knows? But I do hope at some point we get something like that, too. That'd be dope. Yes, for sure. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure, dude. This has been an episode I've been looking forward to for over a year now. Getting to talk openly about the game with you without kind of pulling punches. But overall, guys, I think it echoes with the amount of attention and success that the game has had in just the beta phase. New World's in a very good place for launch, and I'm extremely excited to be part of this community and to be able to look forward to August 31st, Bordy. Almost just a month away for the game to officially launch. No more wipes, and then I can no life the game and level up literally everything that I can and make my house super dope and beat you in the housing competition bet that we already have. That's never gonna happen. I mean, that is never gonna happen. It's probably actually just going to happen, man. I mean, I've already gotten a lot of votes my direction for that housing competition. It doesn't matter how many people vote for you, dude. it's execution.
They already know,
and
they already know.
They know that I'm going to win if they have any recollection of our history with design and taste. So, Bordy, here we go, dude. Here we go. Bordy, why don't you tell people about the company of the week?
Yeah, man. So we have the ArmChairMilitia this week, man. The region is NA. Their server right now for beta is the Sudene server, NA East. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. I might be butchering that name, but you guys get the picture. The faction is Syndicate, language English, focus is PvX, size 51 plus. They are currently recruiting. So it says they are a group dedicated to helping new players regardless of faction. So they're a non-toxic group that wants to make sure that they're standing up for smaller clans and players just trying to enjoy the game. So it sounds like they're just wanting to help everyone, man, which is dope. Our origin started as competitive. I don't know what that word is. Milsim group from a squad with 200 plus members and 1,000 plus Discord users. Yo, dude, sounds like they have a pretty good sized community over there. So if you want to join a pretty awesome company, it sounds like, go check out the ArmChairMilitia. Looks like that's going to be a good group to be a part of. They're all about helping new players. Doesn't matter who they are. They're just all about helping people enjoy the game, which is the type of communities I think you want in an MMO. That helps kind of enhance the new player experience. You want a very welcoming community without a lot of toxicity going on. That definitely helps bring people to the game. So go check them out, man. ArmChairMilitia over there on newworldfans.com. We'll link all that information everywhere this podcast can be found.
Yes, and we appreciate them, posting their advertisement for their company over there at New World Fans. Again, guys, thank you so much for your support over there. We've had tons of extremely positive feedback from the website, and it makes our day because at the end of the day, us three, we put a ton of blood, sweat, and tears into the website, and we just, you guys have no idea how rewarding it is to have people enjoy that and to get value out of that. So thank you to the ArmChairMilitia for supporting us by creating their company advertisement over there, and thank you to all you guys for being part of that community. We really appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much again. Episode 77, Bordy. Crazy, dude. We're gonna hit 100 this, soon, and it feels insane to be here, dude. But it's more insane that the game is actually going to be live in about a month right now, dude. It's I don't have any words for it, man. Very thankful. Feel very blessed with all the support that we've gotten over the beta, and thank you to our patrons who continue to support us and our content at that level. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you to everybody in chat, everybody on YouTube, and again, guys, if you wouldn't mind leaving a 5-star rating on Apple, it really helps us in searchability and help people find us over there. So do that. Share us with your friends. And thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you on another episode of New World to Go.